Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello and welcome to the State of the Economy podcast. I'm Jyothi Datta. So, the last several months have been significant in that finally health insurance is looking at the silver generation. Till recently, health insurance for the elderly was virtually a no go zone, and it was difficult to get health insurance covers for this age group. And even if they were, they came at pretty high premiums. Now you have the center's Ayushman Bharat health insurance scheme, as it's popularly called, saying that it will look at the 70-year-olds. And earlier this year, we had the IRDAI, which is the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, removing the 65-year age restriction for health insurances. Now, what that meant was that private insurance companies could bring in health covers tailored for this age group. To navigate these developments, we have with us today Amit Chhabra, Chief Business Officer, General Insurance at the PolicyBazaar.com. Thank you, Amit, for being here with us today.
Hi, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Right. So, we'll start with the Ayushman Bharat, which is now opening up, or rather has opened up for the 70-year-olds. And just to understand from you, how will this roll out in hospitals, for example, and considering that hospitals have not got onto the existing schemes for the lower income group, but will the 70 plus age group see a better kind of support from larger hospitals, mid-tier hospitals? What is your reading of this?
See, I think it's a bit early. It will. Let's see how it plays out. But so one, I think this is a great thing, for the Indian economy and the Indian community in general, because this 70 plus population is extremely underinsured right now. Right? These are people who are relatively less aware and they have not really bought health insurance, in the past. So, and unfortunately, medical conditions will happen at that age. They will require hospitalization, they will require healthcare. And not having health insurance is a serious issue because that will basically open them to a large financial exposure. So in that sense, I think one, it's a great thing that has happened, that everybody at that age has now access to universal health insurance. How it plays out in hospitals, remains to be seen, to be honest, because see, one difference from the past, from the other schemes that were there, and this is the other ones were mass schemes, which, where the number of people coming in would be quite large. Here in this scheme, where this is age specific, the number of people coming in might not be as large, but the conditions might be more severe, or the treatment might be more specialized. So I would assume that, this is a more targeted and a better way of approaching universal healthcare. So probably some of the challenges, as you mentioned, that we faced in the previous scheme, they might not be there because the number of people in terms of the total population that might come in is going to be much lesser. So in that sense, I think it's a better way of executing it. Rest, let's see how it pans out, as things go live.
True, it is quite early, and like you said, it is a pretty welcome development. As you've indicated, so with the elderly, they come with specific requirements, illnesses. You have Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and various other illnesses also might get into a more serious condition. So normally, how are these covered by insurance companies?
Depends on what health insurance policy one has, but largely, any illness, any medical condition, now be it OPD as well, be it mental illness conditions, be it daycare treatments, like let's say somebody is going through a dialysis or a chemotherapy, everything's covered in health insurance. So, sorry. So everything's covered in health insurance, and there is no there's no question on what is covered or what is not covered. In fact, if you look at some of the recent guidelines that have come in by the regulator, insurance, every year or every sometime is becoming more and more consumer friendly. So, for example, now what the insurance regulator also recommends or mandates every insurance company to also do is to give some sort of a counter offer to every customer. So that means if you have a certain, pre-existing condition which traditionally, insurers may not want to underwrite. Like for example, let's say if you have a kidney problem or a liver problem, and insurers don't want to underwrite, that risk because the chances of a severe claim are very high. The regulator is actually, promoting or encouraging insurers to give some kind of an offer to that customer. So this may not be the standard product. This may be, a sublimited product. It may have a co-payment or a sublimit, but to that patient, it's still a good offer because he or she is not getting anything. At least they get something, some sort of coverage. So so largely, if you see, insurance is becoming very, very customer friendly now. Claim rejections are taken up very, very seriously. There is the ombudsman, there is the regulator, there are internal committees set up by the insurance companies. The intermediaries or brokers play a very big part in claims. So I think over time, for senior citizens and in general, health insurance has become very, very friendly, and which is why we are also seeing a lot of pull now for health insurance. More and more consumers want to buy health insurance. Traditionally being a push product, it's now become a pull product, and more people are buying it, because they realize that they have to buy it. It's technically now become mandatory because healthcare has become too expensive. So that plus the better consumer experience, they are somewhere contributing to an overall, better pull for health insurance.
That's good to know that they are becoming more consumer friendly, and that claims, are rejected claims, especially, are being looked at with greater seriousness. You kind of preempted me in terms of the whole pre-existing illnesses and conditions issue. Now, that's often a concern for any age group, actually, that has an existing illness or a condition, and it becomes even more so with the senior citizens. So is that going to be, slightly bit more difficult to negotiate or to navigate, really?
See, honestly, working with the network or working with hospitals, it's a it's a bit of a I would say, it's a bit of a push and pull relationship, right? Because somewhere both are at odds to a certain extent. Because insurance companies at times feel that hospitals overcharge. Hospitals at times feel that insurance companies don't pay enough. So that's the nature of the relationship, right? But but largely, I think both parties also realize that they can't coexist without each other, because if there are no hospitals, then what will the insurance companies do? And if there is no insurance company, or let's say if I am XYZ hospital and insurance companies don't give coverage in my hospital, then I will start losing business because patients will stop coming to me. So so there is a bit of a push and pull. There is inflation, and it keeps on happening. But largely, they are two parts of the same ecosystem, and both can't survive without each other. So there may be temporary issues at times. There may be a bit of mistrust, etc. But largely it is there, and which is why eventually, thousands of crores are claims paid every month, every year. And that's happening. So I think a bit of push and pull. Probably the ecosystem will find the right balance over the next few years. But largely the system's there and it's working. It can improve. Yes, it can definitely improve. Like I'll give you some examples. The discharge processes from a hospital can become faster, which means that the customer can get discharged maybe sooner than they are right now. Maybe the onboarding processes can become simpler, and companies are working towards it with the hospital. So I think as a system, as a ecosystem of health insurance and healthcare working together, it's evolving. It can become better for sure right now, but it's definitely evolving, and I think it's a matter of time before probably we get to a fairly mature stage on that.
True, pretty much work in progress. And like you said, yes, there has been a lot of evolution from the great levels of mistrust that there have been in the past. But sticking with the Ayushman Bharat, how will this play out in terms of payments? I mean, who foots the bill? Will it be entirely the center, or partly center and state? Will there be also, from your conversations with either hospitals or insurance companies, are they even looking at other forms of co-pay models?
So again, no clarity yet, to be very honest. Or at least I won't know what exactly is the distribution of funds, etc., because it's a subject beyond my purview. So yeah, but I think for the consumer, definitely it's a good thing because the consumer won't have to pay, and up to that sum insured, the amount will get taken care of. Now, who pays for it is sort of is beyond at least the purview of this discussion. But you can look at it like how, let's say, a CGHS insurance today works. So if I have a if I was a central government employee and now I'm retired, or even if I'm working, I have insurance by CGHS. So I don't have to pay anything. The insurance pays for it. Who's sponsoring the insurance at the back is something that I won't know. But for the consumer, it's great because the consumer has to be least worried about it.
Right. Coming to private health insurance, they too have been now asked to look at people who are over 65 years. Now, have these plans started rolling out? I mean, that's been quite a few months now since that was required of them.
Yeah, so I think on the private health insurance side, a lot of progress has happened because see there are a lot of companies, right? There are close to I think 25, 26 companies which offer health insurance plans. So every company is in some or the other stage of evolution. But today what you see is there are plans, there are multiple plans available up to 99 years of age. So for a consumer, there are options of all kinds when it comes to buying health insurance policies. If you're let's say 75, 80, 90 years of age, you can take a comprehensive plan which is full of features and coverages and has lots of frills and benefits, but it may be a bit expensive, of course, because of the frills and benefits that it provides. So depending upon one's affordability, you can buy a very, very feature-rich plan. You can also get a plan which has OPD benefits. You can also get a low-cost plan which has limited coverage, but it's extremely low cost. And the difference between the two may be as much as 4 or 5 times, because the feature-rich plan will have no limitations, whereas the plan with limitations will have a co-payment and a room rent capping and all that also. So there may be multiple type of options available. But now the good news is that there are options for all kinds of people. So even if you are suffering with a heart problem, you have had a bypass surgery in the past, you can still get a health insurance policy. If you're a cancer survivor, you can still get a health insurance policy. If you are a diabetic on insulin and taking, let's say, insulin for the last 20 years, you can still get a health insurance policy. Now, these options were earlier never available. So a lot of progress has happened, and now practically for anybody and everybody, there is some or the other health insurance plan.
Right, there is something out there for everyone. So, since you run a platform, you look at all of these, what is the small print that senior citizens will have to watch out for or read closely? And will premiums, since we're talking about a population or a segment of population that is expected to have illnesses, are premiums going to be really high?
See, so one, in terms of fine print, and what is very, very important for anybody to understand, I would say two things. One must know what are the terms and conditions of your policy, and very basic stuff. What room can I go to? What hospital can I go to? Is there a co-payment? Is there a deductible? Stuff like that, right? So that's very, very important to know. It's very basic stuff. So when you buy a health insurance policy, one must ensure that they do their research before buying. So what you definitely don't want happening is you don't want a system where somebody just comes, collects a check, and you don't even know what your policy's name is or what are the features. That basic bit of research is extremely important when you're buying a policy. That is part one. Part two is one must make sure that your medical history is disclosed properly and in full detail when you're buying a policy. Because if you don't disclose your medical history, then you are practically doing a fraud in a way. Because on the proposal form, when you buy a health insurance policy, you are saying that you are fit and fine, but you're not fit and fine. There is some pre-existing disease or medical history that was already there. This is a breach of contract, which eventually leads to a rejection of a claim. So this is the other thing which is extremely important when you're buying a health insurance policy, that you inform the health insurance company that I have this medical condition, or I have had this surgery in the past, or I take this medicine on a regular basis. If these two things are taken care of, so one is knowing your policy and second is making sure that there's no non-disclosure, If these two things are taken care of, then there is no issue at all, and can be no denial of claim, and there is no fine print apart from these two things that that one needs to know. But these are two important things that one must be aware of. We see at times that people miss out on this, but this is extremely important to be aware of as you buy your health insurance policy.
Right. Are you seeing more queries on your platform, for the senior citizens plans? Are they coming up?
Yes, absolutely. See, whenever something like this happens, where where the government launches a new scheme, it always leads to higher awareness, more discussions about health insurance in general. And what ends up happening is more and more people end up buying individual health insurance policies as well. So it's always a beneficial thing, and we are seeing the same as well.
Interesting. Clearly, this segment is going to see a lot of conversations, and we will come back to you as well for more. But for now, we'll bring this interaction to a close. So, from the business line team and myself, thank you so much, Amit, for your time and insights.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.